If you've watched anything that Hollywood has produced at any point over the past decade and a half or so, you have no doubt noticed that movies and television shows are extremely diverse these days. And I mean that in the way that everybody means it when they use the term. I mean that movies and television shows are a lot less white. The entertainment industry, especially the parts of it that we can see on camera, are increasingly not white and not male, and especially not white male. In fact, you would think Hollywood productions are about as non-white and non-male as they can possibly be at this point. They've already loaded the cast of every movie and show with as many people who are not white males as they can. If a white male historical figure appears in a movie, he's usually changed to black or some other race. But they can't take us out completely. I mean, after all, plenty of scripts still have characters who are villainous racists or alcoholic domestic abusers, and they at least want to cast us for that. So, we will always have some use in Hollywood. Yet, even if you think Hollywood is as diverse as it can always be more diverse because nothing is ever diverse enough. Which is to say, everything is always too white and too male, even when there are no white males left. And it's just the way things work. Which is why major Hollywood stars have come out this week to call on Hollywood to update yet again their diversity and inclusion standards to make sure that another minority group is represented even more than it already is. CNN reports, quote, "Some top stars in Hollywood are among those calling for the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science, the body behind the Academy Awards, to immediately add Jews to the organization's inclusion and diversity standards and are criticizing the group for the oversight. Actors including Tiffany Haddish, Josh Gad, David Schwimmer, Deborah Messing, Jennifer Goodwin, Juliana Margulies, Mayim Bialik, I don't even know who these people are among the nearly 300 Hollywood figures who signed an open letter to the Academy this week demanding that Jews be recognized as an underrepresented group. While we applaud the Academy's efforts to increase diverse and authentic storytelling, an inclusion effort that excludes Jews is both steeped in and misunderstands anti-Semitism," reads the letter obtained by CNN. "The omission of Jews in the list of protected groups erases Jewish peoplehood and perpetuates myths of Jewish whiteness, power, and that racism against Jews is not a major issue or that it's a thing of the past." Yes, by not specifically including Jewish people on a list of the most special groups of humans, they are erasing Jewish people. But of course, the same does not apply to white people. And for their purposes, as they make clear in the letter, Jews don't count as white this time. Because the answer to whether Jews are white changes for the left depending on the needs of the moment. In any case, the point is that, you cannot say that white males are being erased by not being mentioned in the inclusion standards. But other groups, literally any other group, is erased if they aren't mentioned. Again, this is just how it works, and you're supposed to simply accept it. Now, let me just want to say a few things about this. First of all, it must be stated for the millionth time that representation in and of itself does not matter. Okay, the idea that every group needs to be represented in every context is absurd. Representative democracy is a system of government. It's a thing that exists in the political realm. It's not a reflection of how the entire rest of reality works or should work. So if, say, the state of South Carolina was suddenly deprived of its representation in Congress, that would be a severely unconstitutional and very significant problem. But if, say, a gay disabled Pacific Islander watches a movie and doesn't see any gay disabled Pacific Islanders depicted on screen for those 90 minutes, no constitutional violation has occurred. It is not a problem, significant or otherwise. So somewhere along the line, we got this idea that wherever you go and whatever you happen to be doing, you should always see people who look like you and share all of your demographic details. We got the idea that you have somehow a right to be reflected by the world around you. Like you need to see yourself, you need to have yourself reflected back to you by the world. But this idea is completely ridiculous and untenable. The only time a lack of representation is really a problem is when that absence has been intentionally engineered by the exclusion of certain groups on the basis of their race, gender, or whatever. And in the name of representation, that's exactly what they're doing to white males. Now, all that said, as far as representation goes, we must note that Jewish people are definitely represented in Hollywood, okay? I don't know exactly how many Jews are involved in film productions, but I do know that it's certainly more than 2.4%. And given that Jews comprise 2.4% of the general public, in order for them to be perfectly represented in any particular industry, they need to make up 2.4% of that industry. And I don't think any serious person would claim that Jewish people are, in comparison to the general population, underrepresented by percentage in Hollywood. Now, the same is true of black people. Blacks are 13% of the population. They're also 13% of working actors. LGBT people are, by last count, 7% of the population. Again, it's hard to say exactly how many gays are in Hollywood, but it is definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, more than 7%. A lot more. Women are 50% of the population. I can't remember the last time I saw a movie where fewer than 50% of the leads and major supporting characters were women. So if representation is the goal, then you have it. All of these groups have it. They have it in spades. They have, in many cases, significantly more than mere representation. Because if representation means anything, this is what it means or should mean. So even if I agree that every group should be represented everywhere, all that would mean is that the group's distribution in any given industry reflects its general population density. Again, the real world can never actually work this way, but this is what representation would mean, which means that if only 13% of the characters that you see on screen in any given year are black, then black people have been absolutely perfectly represented. If only 7% are gay, gays have been absolutely perfectly represented. If only 2.5% are Jewish, Jews have been absolutely perfectly represented. If only 50% are women, women, again, absolutely perfectly represented. If a large majority are white, well then, whites have been merely represented, not overrepresented, simply represented. And that's exactly why the people running around crying representation, it's obvious they actually want anything but representation. In fact, representation is the very last thing they want. They want over-representation. They want imbalance, asymmetry, disproportion. They want groups that are small minorities in real life to seem like they are majorities when you watch TV or turn on a movie. They want to diminish one group, white males, for the benefit of others. But which is why, by the way, if you don't know anything about America and its population, and you watch a movie today, and you watch a movie set in modern America, you will assume that black people are like 70% of the population. But they're not. They're only 13%. Are you struggling with back taxes or unfiled returns this year? The IRS is escalating collections by adding 20,000 new agents. In these challenging times, your best defense is to use Tax Network USA. With over 14 years of experience, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in back taxes. They specialize in negotiating with the IRS and aim to reduce your debt significantly. Tax Network USA doesn't just negotiate, they protect your assets from IRS seizures and manage your yearly returns for ongoing compliance. Importantly, they are licensed to help with all state tax issues, regardless of where you live in the U.S. Seize control of your financial future now and don't let tax issues overpower you. Contact Tax Network USA for immediate relief and expert guidance. Call 1-800-245-6000 or visit tnusa.com/Walsh. Turn to Tax Network USA and find your path to financial peace of mind. That's tnusa.com/Walsh. But you notice the other thing, that the representation police, they only want this kind of representation in certain contexts, right? They don't want representation, and in reality, they don't want representation. And whatever they do want, they don't really want it everywhere. Like, it's funny. You never hear anybody complaining about the fact that the majority of garbage men are white, and also almost all of them are male. Almost none of them are LGBT. Okay? Yeah, you never hear anyone bring that up. You never hear anyone calling for greater black or female or gay representation among roofers or plumbers or janitors or the guys who come and empty out porta potties. I mean, it's almost always men. I don't think I've ever seen a woman do that. Over 80% of long-haul truck drivers are men, yet you don't often hear feminists clamoring to get more women involved in that business. Now, look, I'm sure that all of these industries have their own DEI efforts and their own harebrained scheme to diversify. But there certainly is not as much cultural emphasis on these areas. And you're not going to see any Hollywood celebrities writing a letter demanding that more women and gays be recruited into the ranks of public school janitors. Now, these jobs I just listed, they're all very important. They're all noble. They are all crucial to the functioning of society. Yet, the representation police overlook them entirely. Why? Because this, again, is not about representation. It's about reshaping America in the left's own image. An image where the dreaded straight white male is allowed to do what is perceived by the elites to be grunt work. But where they're driven out of the high-paying jobs, the visible and powerful positions, the professions that the elites have deemed special. And that is the real agenda, which could not be more clear. And it's also why representation, as it is commonly conceived, is today canceled. Hey, YouTube, thanks for listening to the show. If you'd like access to my full show with no ads, you should go to dailywire.com and use promo code Walsh to get 2 months free on all annual plans. See you there.